Thank you so much, everybody, for joining our session. I hope you had a great session in the last one as well. This is track session number 11. We have a beautiful line of panelists, and the topic of discussion this time is rising scale and potency of digital crime and how to find matches and effective solutions on him. On to my left are our esteemed panelists, starting with Mr. Mahesh Adhavale. He's partner and co-founder of SK Vestigium. On to his left, Mr. Niranjan Upadhyay. He is Senior Vice President, Risk and Compliance, Hitachi Payment Services Private Limited. Our moderator of the session, Mr. Atul Kumar. He leads government initiatives at the Data Security Council of India. To his left, we have Mr. Rivi Varghese. He is the founder and CEO of Clarify. And rounding off the list of panelists today, Mr. Saeed Shahrukh Ahmed. He is the co-founder and CTO of CloudSec S-Vigil. My name is Shaurya. All over to you, Atul.
Thank you, Shaurya, and thank you everyone for joining us for this session. The interesting one, and given the speakers present on the dais, I think it's going to be more interesting because we have quite a good mix of people having experience in working with the banking sector and other user enterprises. Along with, we have a person having experience in law enforcement. We have technologists with us. So I think it's going to be interesting. We'll try to do that. So starting with, just to give you a quick context to that. Now, given the nature of technology adoption happening across the industry verticals, including BFSI, that has triggered a lot of discussions around security, around privacy, and so cybercrime as well. If you see in last couple of years, the way technology has evolved, not just like adoption of that technology, but the pace of technology of that adoption, including, for that matter, say generative AI we are talking about, right? There was a time when there was nothing called generative AI, or for that matter, ChatGPT. Within a blink of eye, everybody is using it, right? The kind of pace that we have seen for such kind of technology adoption, that has significantly changed the whole paradigm. And here, not just from the productivity perspective, from the usage of that technology in the sector, but also it has given a leverage to the bad actors in the domain. And that has, again, triggered a discussion how to be safe and secure in the ecosystem. If you see the kind of state-sponsored activities, state-sponsored attacks, and the sophistication of attack, or I would say institutionalization of the attacks, you would have heard about malware as a service or ransomware as a service. All those things have again changed the whole dynamics. Pace have increased, ramifications have increased. A small incident can have a very large ramification. With that background, we thought to have this session, the rising scale and potency of the digital crime. So let's start the discussion, and rather than I'm talking about it, let's hear from the people who are actually managing the things. So I'll start with Niranjan, with your background and experience working with banking sector, along with other sectors as well. How do you see this adoption of technology has totally shifted the landscape for digital crime?
So before I begin an answer, I would like to quote something, or I would like to share something. There is this book by a famous author, Lisa Halliday, and the name of that book is Asymmetry. And the title of our discussion today rhymes very well with that. In fact, that is the core. There is a vast asymmetry where the bad actors are and where the rest of us are. Be it us bankers, service providers, law enforcement officials, technologists, technocrats, and bureaucrats who are trying to bring in a lot of change and legislation, there is still, a perceptible gap, and there exists and will exist a lot of asymmetry. The bad people will seemingly stay away. We all are collectively only trying to catch up. And why is it so? If I am to proffer my opinion, That is because of user behavior. How do users react to either tempting or intimidating situations presented before them? If somebody tells me that my electricity is going to be switched off unless I click a link and establish my credentials, I get scared and I do what the fraudsters want me to do. If I want to order a pizza, I find the number from a search engine, and when my wallet gets debited, I again look for the pizza company's number on social media or on Google and end up calling the bad actors who will empty my account by asking me or making me download a so-called customer support software on my phone, and thereby taking the entire control of my phone and bleeding me dry. They would be able to read my SMSs, they would be privy to everything that happens on the phone or exists on the phone or the device. So it is the user behavior, and coupled with that, like Atulji said, there are state actors who are having far more finesse. You know, there are these evolving technologies such as AI. They will calibrate and gear their attacks using these tools. However, one reassuring fact, if we may deem it so, is that commonplace fraudsters, I'm not talking about intelligence agencies and state actors, commonplace fraudsters are only interested in making a quick kill. They don't derive any intellectual satisfaction in conning somebody who is a technocrat or a banker or somebody from the law enforcement. No, for them they just need an easy kill. Therefore, when they send out these mass messages, many of you would have noticed that there are grammatical errors in those. Now, that is not a coincidence. Please don't think for a moment that you are dealing with third-rate people or fraudsters. If you could discern it, well for you, and also well for the fraudster. Because a person who does not discern the grammatical errors and spelling mistakes in those messages are therefore more likely to click on the link and do what the fraudsters actually want them to do. So fraudsters are making the job easy for them. They just want a quick kill. As regards the other aspects, and I'll dwell only for another 30 seconds, fraudsters are looking at any and every available avenue and opportunity to get payment-related data, card-related data, demographic data, and therefore they will try and attack a bank or a merchant or a service provider, and even the card schemes, the big boys who run the cards business across continents, their systems reportedly were facing about 3,500 cyber attacks every single day till last year. I don't know this year's statistics. So fraudsters will try and make inroads into wherever they can.
Sure, thanks a lot. And just to add in terms of the gamut which is changing, I think it was a stat of 2015 where total loss created by cyber attacks was somewhere around $3 trillion. Now, 22, it is expected to reach somewhere around $10.5 billion. That's a kind of multifold effect which is happening actually. And that is definitely creating more trouble to industry, government, law enforcement, and the technocrats. So at the same time, we have to have law enforcement people well versed with all the technological development. They should know the modus operandi. They should understand what kind of things can pop up. At the same time, technologists need to create new technologies so that we are protected and we are safe, and we'll have a trust in those instruments getting created for, if we talk about financial sector, definitely the financial sector instruments. But with that, I'll pick up a thread and I'll go to Mahesh. With his background, current in technology world as well as previously in law enforcement, he has dealt with that kind of things very regularly. So in your view, what is the ground reality? How law enforcement is gearing up to handle such kind of cases? What kind of challenges they are facing? And how can we sort of enable that part?
Sure. First of all, we must acknowledge that the investigation of such type of cyber frauds it's a complex in itself. Because investigating officer has to know about the technology, he has to know about the modus operandis, he has to know about the legal possibilities and legal avenues, whatever he is having on his hand. He need to have state-of-the-art tools for investigation, and there has to be training, there has to be concerted efforts on the part of the department, consistency in HR policies, there has to be special cadre to deal with such type of cyber crimes. The real challenge over here in detecting and reaching out to the culprits is the response time. Like if a crime is reported to a police station, from that point of time till the culprit is actually arrested by police, it takes a lot of time. And that time kills the possibility of recovery of data or recovery of the crime proceeds. So this is a very big challenge which law enforcement agencies are facing. If you look at the NCRB data, you will see the amount of defrauded money and the amount of recovered money is completely adverse in proportion. Not even 10% of the amount of defrauded money is usually recovered by police, and that is a big challenge before them. Secondly, there are also issues about interstate coordination on the real time. On paper, everything is there in place. But what happens if an officer, police officer sitting in Bombay identifies an IP which is located somewhere in Bihar? If he has to reach to Bihar physically, it will take at least 2 days in a time. So by then, the accused is certainly not going to wait for the Mumbai police officer to go out there and to apprehend him. But if there is a real-time coordination between the state agencies, it will become easy. Like the places can be searched and raided by Bihar or local police over there, and the accused can be apprehended instantly. Unless we have such a mechanism, it will not create deterrence in the mind of cyber criminals, and it will go on. And then there are also issues about coordination between different stakeholders, like how law enforcement agency is just one part of it. There are banks involved in it. There are other agencies which are involved in it, which share the information with each other. So the time they take for sharing such an information, it's a big time gap. And after receiving that particular information, the investigating officer is supposed to analyze that and reach to some conclusion. So it takes a time. So these are big issues which come to my mind as an ex-law enforcement officer, as well as now since I am into private field or corporate field, I find the same thing.
No, definitely. So you have covered both the sides in a way. And I'll pick up the first thing that you said is tools and technologies, right? So if you see, for any such kind of investigation which is happening, or any crime which has happened in cyber world, right? Time is the key. If we don't react immediately and within a specific time frame, it's next to impossible to track it and struck it down. So here technology plays a very critical role. Now, that is taking me to Rivi and Syed. Now, just to give you a background, so Rivi comes in the cyber background, especially in this fraud prevention domain, with almost 50% as a founder of Clarify. Syed comes from CloudSec, and just to give you a sense, CloudSec is winner of DSA Excellence Award. So we can expect that they have like that kind of expertise in the domain. So let me start with Rivi. So if you can just give us some insights, the kind of technology adoption the user enterprises are happening in user enterprises. At the same time, it is being leveraged by the bad actors. How do you see that happening, and where the technology from protection perspective or investigation perspective are evolving?
So I guess most of the people here will be seeing our Bollywood movies and songs. So there is one song now which says "Kahan se shuru, kahan se khatam" type, you know. So it's very simple. When we look at fraud management, okay, we don't know where it begins and where it will end. And this is a continuous journey. For example, over the last 2 days, you would have heard about a lot of things about, device fingerprinting and, face IDs, voice IDs, and all those kind of things. Now think about it. What is in a KYC? You will have a video taken with a text being read out. It's a contextual thing. Now we also saw about, heard about generative AI. Now how long does it take for a generative AI to create that KYC video message from your side? How long will it take for a generative AI to give a voice authentication with your sample? I am sitting here and talking. This is being recorded. My voice samples are available on the web. My photos are available. My videos are available. So now, on one hand, we think all these technologies will protect us, but then if we believe that it's going to protect us, somebody is trying to figure out how to break that. And that is a continuous cat and mouse journey throughout. So let me take you to the other extreme. I was talking to some bankers in Middle East, and they were telling, Rivi, we don't know where it ends. Example, in the dark web, there is a message which says that we are willing to recruit system administrators from bank ABC who have got access to super admin user and password, user ID password, right? So no matter what technologies you put, somebody is going to break it. So the most important thing for all of us as security professionals, as people who use this technology, is never be satisfied. There is no particular time in our life where we are going to say, yeah, we have reached. Moment you believe that you have arrived, you will get attacked. So now, does it mean that everything is depressing? And that's where I would request all of you to go back to our culture. For example, your device is a behavior that is there, somebody can copy it. Your video, also somebody can copy it. But when we look at our culture, we have this concept of Atma. And Atma is unique. A living Atma is unique. My Atma is unique, living Atma, okay? What is the relevance of that in a banking situation? A bank knows how many times I pay my electricity bill, correct? And the bank knows how much do I pay, how much school fees I pay, a bank knows. This is I will call it as the customer Atma, which it is impossible for an external guy to, hack it. So if you link up all these things, your device ID, device fingerprinting, all of them are contributing to the Atma, including your transaction behavior and your actual behavior. Like I send money home to my parents. How does the fraudster, how can he ever hack that kind of thing? He has to be a very, our Bazigar kind of movie, that kind, where the guy has to chase me individually. And as he said, they don't have any personal enmity with me. They are all professionals. They want to make as much money as possible. So if we use these concepts, right, we will win the war. We can continuously win the war, but we keep on, adding more to it. So these concepts are already there in banks. This is inside available, and people like, technologies like us and users like them, we will ensure that, the level is continuously being upped. That's the kind of promise that we could probably give you.
So it's a big promise actually, and thanks for that. And this is what so as you said, it's not depressing actually, because we have technology guys, our companies, to protect ourselves. And something goes wrong, they are there to support ourselves, right? And then we have a law enforcement available for us. We have a legal mechanism there, and then we have people who are actually helping us in a very safe and secure way adopting the technology. If we bring all the stakeholders together, definitely we have a very strong ecosystem in place. But you talked about dark web, so with that I'll go to Syed.
Yeah.
All your background, they are one of the company working on the dark web analytics and all. If you see, again, I'll pick up two things. One is the speed which is required to do that investigation, right? If we don't do that, a lot of things we are losing. Second, all these state-sponsored activities, and I would say this, the APT groups like Lazarus or Fancy Beer and all those things are popping up. They are doing in a very structured way, I would say. How do you see what kind of things are evolving? And from there, probably we can go to how to address those things. But initially, if you can talk about how things are evolving actually and shaping up.
Yeah, so the dark web has been always there, right? And there are so many marketplaces that have opened up. So people not only sell data there, right? They use dark web to communicate also, to cook up plans, or to to even identify which target to collaborate on, right? So we have been seeing chatter all across the internet, where companies, their employees' computers are hacked, and all these, steal data has been put up on sale on these marketplaces. So it's like very frightening at times to see literally everyone's data is there, right? If I go and search for my own email IDs, there's something or the other. Last day there was Rento Mocho. Like there are so many breaches happening, but then even people who it's very frightening to see their data being put up there, and not just names, phone numbers. It has sensitive information like PAN cards, the ATM numbers, the credit card CVs, CVV numbers. So that makes you think, what scale do we have to reach to even start trying to monitor all those in real time, right? That's a challenge. That's a challenge we have always been trying to solve for. And even if the scale at which it currently is scary, the future is not not so clear because of the advancement in AI, the generative AI, which can mimic even what you say, what you talk like deepfakes, right?
Right.
It has been becoming more and more scary, right? So the only thing to take away is AI will keep on growing, and the pace at which the adoption is going. The bad guys have access to all the tools, which means the good guys, the security companies, the practitioners, they have access to the same amount of technology. So the only takeaway is, how do these practitioners, how do these security companies get together, collaborate, share data in case they have to, and build systems leveraging the same technologies that the bad guys use to monitor at a more, as Rivi said, it's a cat and mouse game. We have to play catch up. It's better to be proactive at times, but then we always have to keep the trend in mind, right? Where it's going, we have to go there as soon as we can. Right? There's no two ways about it.
Sure. So definitely. So the scale, the technology adoption, and the important thing that I think you talked about is the collaboration, right? Everybody has to come together. Now, if we pick up all the things what you said in terms of the unique ways that can come up, even if there is a grammatical mistake, it may have some sense in that, right? That could be intentional. The kind of collaboration is required. The one major stakeholder, because things can go wrong, as you were saying, if we find something, it's a bit threatening, right? If it is something about our known, present in the dark web, which is open, then it will be threatening and frightening for us. If something goes wrong, then definitely one is technology people, at the same time law enforcement come into the play. So again, I'll come to you, Mahesh, in terms of the policies, the procedures, and the technical know-how. Some part we have already covered, but at a ground level, what is the effectiveness of this in country? Just to give you a sense, and for all of you, one thing that we have understood in DSCI, that we have to elevate the awareness level of law enforcement. So what we have done is, we have started creating an institutional mechanism. We had cyber labs across the country, and now we have a center in Bangalore, where we are training police officers. So we have trained almost 1 lakh plus police officers so far. It's across the band. That has definitely given us a boost in terms of streamlining the process, procedures of investigation and elevating their knowledge base. But again, as per your understanding, you have dealt with these things. What is the current effectiveness, and what all we need to do to make it more foolproof and effective from the law enforcement perspective, and what kind of support you see coming in from the industry required for this?
As far as present situation is concerned, there are certain mechanisms which are set in place by the central government and as well as state government also. Like for example, Maharashtra state government has created a different cadre altogether, known as Maharashtra Cyber. And it's a very big project. It started in 2015 and it has been very much successful till now. Under that particular project, government is constantly updating the abilities of police stations across the state. They have created 42 new police stations all over Maharashtra state. They have created 5 cyber labs in Mumbai itself. And they are equipped with the state-of-art tools for the purpose of investigation. Apart from that, then you all must be aware of helpline number 1930, which helps in retrieving your money. But again, as far as use of that particular avenue, time is again essence. If I get defrauded and if I call within an hour, so within an hour's time, that entire money that has been defrauded can be kept on hold by the receiving banks or beneficiary banks. And later on, that money can be reverted back to the account holder's account. But as I said, systems are in place. Execution of system is a much more important aspect over here. Like whenever police investigating authorities or law enforcement authorities seek for information from stakeholders like banks or financial institutions, it takes days and days together to receive that information. You just imagine if you receive information after say 7 days or 8 days, then you are supposed to analyze that, then you have to reach to the beneficiary of the account, then this is one lab. The money again travels from one account to second, second to third, third to fourth, and ultimately it is withdrawn at the end of the day. And it happens within few hours after you actually have transferred money or you have deposited money. So you just imagine the money which was deposited or transferred from your account, say on Monday, and if police receives the information about that account by Friday night or by Saturday night, is it practically possible for any law enforcement agency to retrieve them? That is not possible. So we need to have some real-time coordination between all stakeholders. Why can't there be a mechanism like if police sends some requisition email to stakeholders will automatically generate a report and can present that report to police. I think in the days of artificial intelligence, it should not be a big task for all of us here. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, there has to be coordination between law enforcement agencies across the country. If that coordination is there, then the job will become easy and we will be more effective. Because we all must remember that we have got largest population of youth in the world, and we are also largest mobile data consumer in the world. So all those fraudsters, they are equipped with fancy handsets. They can morph image of their girlfriend to some porn star's body, but they're dumb enough to understand the ethic and to understand the loss they are causing to the society. So we are dealing with such criminals and fraudsters over here. And most of them are in their early age, like teenagers. They don't understand the consequences. So in my opinion, we need to have real-time coordination. We need to have a deterrent enforcement of prevalent laws. And we need to use whatever systems are there in place more effectively and efficiently. Thank you.
Sure, thanks. One point that you have highlighted while you were talking about it previously is the coordination, right? Coordination among law enforcement agencies, coordination internationally, coordination among stakeholders. Again, that's a critical thing. So, a couple of initiatives that have been taken by government at national level, I would say. So, you would have heard about I4C, which is Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center. That is something at a national level which got set up under MHA. Similarly, as he has talked about Maharashtra Cyber, similarly Kerala has Kerala Dome under which they are doing a lot of stuff around this. Karnataka, I have already given you example. Telangana, I know because we have a center of excellence over there. They are also working with them and they are also significantly focusing on cybercrime. So there are states which are actually focusing and taking, I would say, leapfrog on that front, so that they can protect the the citizen, the institutions in that state from the cybercrime perspective. But again, the thing is, we need to have a stronger coordination. Probably at a I4C level, things will happen. Government of India came up with this, the cybercrime at gov.in kind of portal where you can report it. Definitely, they are trying to take it to the next level, and again, the technology is going to help there as well. The kind of coordination which are possible through technological interventions, that is probably going to solve a lot of things. But picking up that thread, again, I'm going back to you guys. So from the innovation perspective, and what I see innovation is happening, you talked about generative AI, right? Morning we were talking about it. So this is all innovation happening in the ecosystem. In the fintech is one of the most, I would say, pro segment which is adopting innovative technologies. So, and you guys are doing that innovation. So if you can start with Rivi, what kind of innovation you see you are doing, and even beyond your organizations, how ecosystem is picking up the innovation to prevent as well as to address if something is going wrong?
So we have about 61 banks working across 25 countries. Right. And each of them, when they bought our product, they, those decision makers trusted their careers with us. So it is in our blood to, keep them up to date for the next 5 to 10 years. So one is we attend conferences like these to, figure out. But things like, there are some very futuristic things that we worry about, and there are certain very immediate priority things that we worry about. For example, you mentioned about, we started this conference about, the first segment, where we talked about quantum. Sorry, the lights just quantum. See, quantum is, we need to worry about it, and we are seeing that information coming from multiple countries, because I travel to about 40 countries, wherein even if you don't have the technology, people are trying to harvest and keep it there, so that maybe 5 years down the line, we can try to break it. Right. So we keep on worrying about how to put quantum into it. We are already discussing with key players globally to make our solution protect the banks against a quantum hack or a quantum hijacks. So that those are the far-reaching things that we worry about. We worry about and say, hey, ultimately all these fraudsters, rather than coming in from outside, what happens if they start getting inside the bank, start attacking how two processors are communicating to each other? Because during COVID time, we actually got requests from multiple banks in some XYZ country, where these kind of insiders had done massive hacks, insiders. So we worry about those things. We also keep our hands engaged on how AI, generative AI and all those things are moving forward. We look at the emergence of, see, 5 years back we started with mobile and other kind of thing. We see a lot of innovation. But 5 years from now, everything is going back into an API kind of mode. How do I protect them? Because the customer anonymity that we talk about, see, 10 years back, if you go to a branch, I know who you are. Okay? The customer is becoming more and more anonymous. You went into a digital channel, now you are anonymous. The anonymity is increasing by 10 times because now it's all about APIs. I don't know who this person is. Is that a IoT device communicating to me and taking all your money out? Right. I don't know. So we keep on worrying about it. We have a panel of people and experts with whom we. So these are the things that we keep us worried.
Sure. No, yeah. Thanks. And
I have a question here for the crowd. How many of you know what cryptojacking is, or have ever heard about the term? Oh, okay. So no one. So this, again, I will pick it up from where Vivi left, right? The insider threat. So we launched a new platform, SVGen. I think you guys would be there in the keynote last year. So the point is the insider threat doesn't only, threatens the boundary of companies also threatens the boundary of technology.
If you can close it, only. Close it.
Okay. It also threatens the technologies themselves, right? So if uh, if the ecosystem that is powering all these apps, all the technologies, for example, let's say, again, I might be going too technical, but so if let's say there's Python, which is a language to build your software, if the repository of all the libraries in Python is not secure, how secure do you think your product will be, which is coded in that, right? So now what is now happening is attackers are going for the supply chain. They're trying to inject or pollute or put something malicious into these libraries, so that eventually when it ends up into some corporate infrastructure, the whole thing falls apart in a matter of a few instructions from the bad guys, right? So we also have to be cautious that as technology moves, as I said before, we have to be sure what is critical to the whole supply chain, what is critical to the corporate business, not only their infrastructure, also who is powering, who are the third parties, who are the vendors that are powering your business with their infrastructure, their business as well, right? For example, you will banks, they'll use SMS as a service. How do you know that the SMS service is not already breached, right? Someone is already sitting there. It may not be insider threat as an employee. It may be just a infected laptop, right? So we have to think about those things as well. We have to look at the whole infrastructure, supply chain, security posture, and then understand which are the weak links, which are the things which are in control of the business immediately to patch and mitigate, and what are the things that you don't even know about, right? What is beyond your perimeter, which actually poses a very critical role in your infrastructure, and if it's going to be in any way, breached, you will be in big trouble. So, just wanted to put this idea across.
Sure. And actually, the thing is, when India is trying to be the global hub, and that's the charter even DSA is running, like India to become a global hub for cybersecurity. From that perspective, it is very important to be secure here. All the entities, individual have to be secure here so that we can say it's a secure destination for the businesses. Second, we need to have the technology in place, which we can say this is the technology which can protect the whole globe, right? And third, the process and procedure that we were talking about. So we have to secure the user enterprises, we have to have the innovative technologies in place, we need to have our policies, procedures and laws in place to make it so, typically what we call out, it's like safe, secure, trusted and accountable ecosystem, the cyber ecosystem, right? This is what we need to build, and this is only possible if we have all the stakeholders together. And from this bringing all the stakeholders together perspective, I'll come to you again. And as coming from the user enterprise, right? Definitely you engage with all the stakeholders broadly speaking, right? What do you think government, industry, law enforcement, technology companies, how do you see what could be an effective way of bringing everyone together and what all roles they can play to actually achieve that dream of making India as a global hub and making it a secure and safe destination?
Well, all right. So efforts from all these entities or stakeholders are ongoing. Not all of them will be visible to common people like you and I. However, rest assured, people out there, who shoulder the responsibility of protecting common people like you and I, they are, red-eyed, they are wakeful and watchful. They will do everything within their means to ensure that our safety and the integrity of the payment system is retained. It remains high. There is also a lot of unseen cooperation between law enforcement, technology companies, government agencies, and believe you me, when, for example, the Mumbai attacks happened, the terror attacks happened, our security agencies had already tapped into the satellite phone communications that the terrorists were using to, manage their handlers. Uh, Even informally, banks, payment service providers, card schemes are talking to each other. So if, let's say, some money is stolen from Shah Rukh's wallet and transferred electronically, and if he is vigilant enough to report it to his bank, because the money has already flown out, his bank will reach out to the wallet service provider. And if there is a person like me, we would immediately block the flowing out of that money. We will, of course, subsequently take the FIR and the complaint, but the essence is the golden hour. If a complaint is received in the golden hour, and if there are watchful and wakeful people who mean to help, who want to help, it can be done very well. Government agencies are also supporting in crackdown of fraud rings. Whenever unusual activities spotted originating from a few IP addresses or from certain locations, the fingerprints that are perceived there allow government agencies to act very, very quickly and swiftly to stem it in the bud. Government agencies and telecom agencies are also nipping out the problem of multiple, meaning tens or dozens or even hundreds of SIM cards being issued excuse me, to a few entities which get subsequently misused to make these kind of wishing and phishing calls, etc. So a lot of work and coordination is happening, although, like I said, there is and there remains a vast asymmetry between the tactics and the modus operandi used by the fraudsters or the bad actors and those of us on this side, which is law enforcement, bankers, processors, etc.
Sure. So we are just 5 minutes left. So what I'll do, see, we'll have an overarching pointers coming in from all the speakers, and then probably we can go back to all of you if you have any questions. See, if you see the kind of value, volume, and velocity of the transactions which are happening, if you see from the, and this is from BFSI perspective you take, again, value, volume, and velocity, that is increasing so much that is creating trouble for the institutions itself to keep track of all the transactions. Now, if you see from the individual user perspective, we are making so many transactions daily. We are into so many transactions, not just financial, otherwise as well. What's happening here? We have to be vigilant on each and every transaction. If we do mistake, things will go wrong. Then we need certain technologies in place which can take care of such things. Typically in cybersecurity, we see there are billions of possibilities which we have to protect. If we go wrong on one, probably the adversaries will pick up that one missing element and leverage it. So considering that so many permutation combinations are there, we have to be foolproof. How can we do that? We need to have technology in place. We need to have what we discuss is collaboration is the key probably. We need to have a strong coordination mechanism. We need to have a very harmonized way of coordinating among the stakeholders. We need to have a very harmonized way of dealing with that incident that's happening. Then a couple of things that I have noted down is what he talked about, the golden hour. We have to respond rapidly. It's not, we cannot wait for hours to respond, right? Then if you look at information sharing is also key, not just between two stakeholders, among the stakeholders, nationally, domestically, internationally as well. So we need to find out different ways. And here, as a baseline, I will definitely say the policies and procedures on one hand, the regulations, policies, and procedures on one hand, but at the same time, the innovation and having that conducive ecosystem for the innovation has to be there so that hand in hand, when technology adoption is happening, we have ecosystem to come up with the technology which can protect any adversaries which can probably come up out of that innovation or technology which is getting adopted by the user enterprises. With this, I'll go back to each one of you. If you can have 1 line or 2 line kind of closing remarks, and then we'll go back to the audience in case they have any question around it.
Sure. I think from law enforcement agencies' perspective, we need to have automation in the process of investigation. We need to do lot many things depending on the technology, and we need to adopt it efficiently. Unless we do that, we cannot have any resolution. Thank you.
Niranjan?
So please be rest assured that banks and service providers are using a lot of sublime ways to protect you and your transactions. There are methodologies like step-up authentication, which, without bothering a whole mass of individuals, will only ask you to additionally validate your presence and participation in a transaction if it is out of the regular pattern. So these are effective methodologies rather than, increasing friction and challenging every single transaction. This is how institutions are managing your accounts, your cards, and the integrity of the payment system.
We have all heard about neural networks. A neural network learns more the number of nodes, more it learns. Now think of India as a neural network of 1.2 billion nodes. What is the meaning of that? It is not just the law enforcement people, just like they mentioned. You have a fraud. If you report it, there is a chain of action that happens. Police gets involved. At some point, cert.in will get involved. All the other people will get involved. And then together we can figure out which are the bad IP addresses, which are the bad POS devices, machines, and so on. So our country at this point of time, because of the innovations that we have done, we are also put in a lot of processes and procedures. Just a question of time when this matures. But it's very important that, as Atul mentioned, if you report, then a series of a chain of activities happens with the different agencies in the country, and each one of them will help us protect us better, because nobody can give that intelligence what 1.2 billion people can give. That's our strength, and that's what is going to protect us. That's my quick summary.
Yeah, so I would say, the businesses, so it's different for businesses and individuals, right? For businesses, they should get into a process or mindset to, first of all, identify the dependencies, identify the supply chain entities, right? That's very important. Unless they know that no amount of customer data, huge or little, will be secure, right? Because you can't secure things if you don't know which things they are and where they are, right? So for businesses, this is something that they should start looking at with more collaborations and businesses tying up, scaling up globally. This is going to be a very, very major need in the future. The second thing is for individuals, right? Individuals should be constantly learning about the trends, what exactly is going on. Is there Gen AI or Gen AI version 2 or version 3? There should be particularly very consistently, on the, journey to understand what exactly can it be leveraged for. Again, everyone is not a subject matter expert. So maybe they should, subscribe to those places where someone is trying to, explain it to the masses, right? Because unless they know that, ChatGPT is used to create very, very non-suspicious looking phishing emails, they'll not be able to protect themselves, right? They will be clicking on that same link again and again, which is bad. So individuals should be subscribed to those trends and taking the steps necessary to protect themselves. So I think that's for the conclusion.
Sure. So we'll open it up for the questions. I think we have just a couple of minutes for the questions, in case anybody. Yeah.
In the market currently that's seen a gold rush is your sound box, right, which every financial institution wants now. So as Hitachi is also into this business of procuring and supplying sound boxes, so we've seen companies compromise on the hardware because regulation has kept up with the software part. So what are the areas that you look at when supplying these devices to financial institutions where there are potential for malware attacks and given the scale and volume that these devices are being deployed in the market?
Firstly, I am not going to speak only for my company. I am speaking for the ecosystem.
Sure.
If you have a question directed at my company, we can speak on the sidelines.
Sure.
Now, all devices, transactional devices, have to be certified. Okay, there are certain standards governing the safety and security of transactions happening through them. So, as regards the integrity of the card data, anyway, voice box will only announce the success of a transaction, of a BQR transaction, or your wallet QR code transaction. So, in terms of just relaying the success of that transaction, there are no loopholes involved that can be exploited. The same sound box can, for example, be used to play your favorite song using Bluetooth. Only to that extent can an exploit, if it were to be called that, may happen. But that is not a damaging or a threatening one. But rest assured, just to extend your query a bit further and to reassure our peers and the people who are present here, all transactional devices are certified, okay, for the latest applicable standards, which are called PADSS and PCIDSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, and Payment Application Data Security Standards. Even PIN pads and other paraphernalia are certified with the most relevant payment industry applicable standards. And if these standards get upped, all the devices, their conformance is also upped. Do I answer your question?
Yeah, kind of.
Let me just add one thing, and then probably we can take it offline because I don't think we have much time here. I can see, say, from device perspective, if you look at, so India became certifying nation for common criteria in 2013, right? So those kind of standards are already in place to make sure that device is going in for any infrastructure that is free from any kind of trapdoor or malware or any such issues, right? So those kind of mechanisms are already in place, and certification is definitely one. There are different ways of doing it. And in detail, probably we can discuss it offline. So from Indian capability perspective, you see, we are, say, common criteria certified nation which can certify actually, and we have certain labs here. So we can take probably one more question and
The last,
sure.
last question before we wrap up things.
Please.
Yeah, could we have the mic, please? Could we have the mic, please?
You can try. I think we can hear you, probably.
Yeah, I think interesting. Could you be a little louder, please?
If you can introduce yourself as well. See, so Deep, just to give you an idea, when we were talking about it, we were discussing about this thread as well to explore the possibility. What would be that thin line balance between the surveillance and ensuring the privacy of the individual? So I would request if anybody want to pick up, else we can. Yeah, sure.
2 weeks back, I was traveling to US and I was doing the airport check-in, and they had put a full body scanner. You know what a body scanner is? It removes my clothes off, okay, and does a full analysis of including a handkerchief that is on my body. Now, is this a privacy violation or is it a security problem? That's the fine balance that you need to do. Personally, because it was done and my entire family was there with me, okay, I felt more secure, sitting on the plane. Now, how they have figured this out is very simple. None of the images are kept. None of the images are, available. Recordings are not kept. But you would have, converted into some kind of, hazy kind of thing with only the exceptions coming out, where your handkerchief is or whatever it is. So that fine balance, everybody, every society at any point of time has figured out. And that's how we will, there is no way anybody can go to the other extreme, because because we are a democracy, our democratic principles will pull everybody back to the central tendency. So yes, it's an emerging thing, but we will always strike that balance, because we are talking about fraud and compliance. We are not talking about cross-selling and chasing you with offers and advertisements and so on. Does that answer your question?
I'll just quickly tell you one thing, and I think I'm getting indication to close it immediately. Just to see if any tools, technology in place which can play a role of a surveillance tool, right? But if we are taking care of the privacy principle, whether it's a use limitation, purpose limitation, and all those things, if these kind of things are being taken care by that application, which is being used to not do surveillance, actually to make sure that we are protected. For that, we have certain kind of technology. If you look at, if we are analyzing our encrypted data, we have homomorphic encryption kind of technology in place, right? We have masking, pseudo-anonymization. If we are taking care of those principles of privacy, and privacy by design for that application, or the process which is taking care of my protection, might convert in the form of a surveillance, then it will not become a surveillance. Because that part is being taken care by the privacy principle, by privacy enabling technologies itself. And we have technologies in place, right? Couple of names what I have taken, we have solutions in place, which we can sort of apply and make sure that things are protected. Now we can probably discuss offline. I got the indication we have to sort of close this session. Just as a concluding thing, we'll keep adopting the technology, and probably the adversaries, the bad actors will keep evolving, whether it's Jamtara kind of a scam, or whether it's a kind of a loan app, or more advanced scams that will keep adopting. The thing that we have to do is a coordinated effort that we need to make sure it's happening. We have to have a very harmonized law in place, a regulatory ecosystem in place. We need to have innovators in place. We need to have law enforcement capable enough to handle those things. And we have to have companies who are actually serving the user enterprises as well as the larger ecosystem, making sure things are by design in place to make things secure and safe. If we bring everything together, definitely it's going to be a safe and secure ecosystem. With this, and in India, if I say things are happening, things are moving in a very right direction, I would say. If you look at the Digital India Act, which is now we are expecting to see soon, Minister has just announced that the draft will be up next, first week of June, actually, this is what he has announced. So I think things are there, and we are going to have a lot more things which would probably protect us in a more effective way. Just the last thing I'll say from the Technology Act perspective, 1885, we had first Technology Act in India, which is Wireless Act, Telegraphy Act. After that, it took years of time. In 1933, we have Wireless Telegraphy Act. Again, it took 70 years to come up with the IT Act. Now, within 23 years of time, we are coming up with the Digital India Act, which is the next Technology Act. This is the kind of motion we have seen, right? The kind of swift response to the technology, the kind of amendments we have seen. So things are probably moving in the right direction, and we have to come together. And from DSI, and I'll say everybody, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to collaborate with you all and try to make this ecosystem safe, secure, trusted, and accountable, as we always say. So thank you, all of you, for joining us for this session. Looking forward to engage with you outside. Thank you. Thank you, panel, for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Atul, for the well-rounded summary. To all the panelists for the valuable time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of this. We do have mementos to give away. Atul, if you can help me with it. Hope the session was interesting, and thank you so much. You can wait.